Hey folks, it is Supradrew here. Thank you very much for viewing. My guest tonight is going to be my buddy Chuck Daughtrey. Can't even talk. Already screwing it up, Chuck. Chuck Daughtrey. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing good.
Good. Glad to see you, man. So tonight, Chuck and I are going to be discussing some common errors that people make when looking at their coins, such as the difference between repunched mint marks, double dies, machine doubling, etc. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat room here. And so, Chuck, why don't you go ahead and just give these guys a brief little, resume.
Resume, meaning what we're going to do tonight?
No, I mean a little bit about your background.
Oh, a little bit about my background.
Your bona fides, so to speak.
Okay. Well, I started in Lincoln Cents around 1975. I was just a little kid, and I was really interested by it, and I wanted to collect all of them, and got up to a point where they became a lot more valuable with the ones that I hadn't found yet. So I decided, what else can I do with this? And I found a book on Lincoln Cents called The Lincoln Cent Double Die. In fact, I've still got the original copy that I bought back in 1984. And I realized at that point in time that there was a lot more to collecting pennies than just collecting them by date and mint mark. And over a period of 10 to 15 years, I kind of studied them and put myself together in figuring out what I was doing with them. And it wasn't until 1999 that I actually started publishing about them when I put out the website coppercoins.com. And over the years that followed to 2004, I spent photographing coins and putting this website together and actually adding more information to it as I went along. And then 2004, I was invited to a show where I would be able to speak about Lincoln Cents, and I decided, wouldn't it be nice to create a few pamphlets about it and maybe make some little 10, 12-page pamphlets to teach people about die varieties and the different double dies and the repunched mint marks and things like that. And as time passed through the beginning of 2004, my little pamphlet idea turned into a 300-page book. And so I decided to go ahead and publish the book and put the book out. And that's kind of what gave me a little bit of a name in the collecting. And I've kind of built on that with educational photos, continued building on my website. I've written a few other things to go together with the website, kind of as companion books and booklets. One of them is this, the short list. And this is one for memorial cents. And I'm getting ready to put out another one on the wheat cents, and those are available on my website too. Bird. This is Ivan. Ivan doesn't like people, but he likes me. And I guess that's kind of what you're looking for. Just a little bit about who I am and what I've done and which bird I'm about to kill because he's going to bite me.
Well, I tell you what, I think it's really important for people to understand, you do carry a lot of knowledge. I mean, you really do know what you're talking about. You're not just some guy who has read a little bit in the red book and has a little bit of knowledge. I mean, you really do know a lot more than anybody realizes about Lincoln Cents.
I probably know more than I realized.
Yeah.
Give me the right question and I'll come up with an answer. And if I can't come up with an answer, I know exactly where the answer is.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to a few people that are in the external chat. Sure. We've got Sean 1744, Fox Mulder, and Utah Redneck Nichols. And I'd also like to send a shout out to, believe it or not, my dentist, Matt Gold. This guy used to work at a coin shop and he knows a lot. Every time I go to the dentist, like I did this afternoon, we talk coins while he's doing his little work. We talk coins.
Wow. And he's on.
He's going to be, if he's not out there right now watching, he said he was going to watch a little later on. He had some plans, but he definitely is going to be catching the replay. So thanks for the bridge, Matt.
The first thing that I would like for anyone who wants to participate out there to do is to pay their attention to the comment right below the video screen. I believe it's right below, correct?
Correct.
Where there's a link down there. It's coppercoins.com/supra for Supradrew. If you go to that page, you're going to notice that there's some visual aids set up to discuss for tonight. One of the things is a double die versus machine doubling self-test that you can take. And I would like for anyone who wants to participate to go in there, click in there, and go ahead and take that self-test just to see where you are with your knowledge on double dies, because I'm going to go through and explain every one of these photos.
Good point. Yeah, you guys just open up a second window, and you guys can follow along while Chuck is explaining.
And you don't have to be looking at me. My ugly mug for a few seconds is enough. So you can bring up a window right over YouTube. I'm not going to do any song and dance that you're going to miss.
Sean says he already checked out the link, and it's great. He likes it. He likes that link.
Awesome.
Okay, Chuck, so where would you like to start out? Would you like to start out with image number 1?
Well,
how would you like to do this? I'm going to let you run this.
Wow, going to let me run it. Let's ask the bird, because he seems to want to run the whole thing.
Okay.
I guess I could go ahead and start going through these. Image number 1, you're going to see a picture of a 1942 Mercury dime. And that 1942 Mercury dime, I'm asking you, is this machine doubling or is it a double die? And the correct answer, Drew, what do you think?
I'm looking at it right now. I'm going to say machine doubling.
You're correct. It is machine doubling. One of the characteristics that you'll notice about machine doubling, especially if you look at the top of the letter 4 or the number 4, is that rounded bit up above it where it kind of looks like it's just like pancaked down and mashed out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the prime characteristics of machine doubling. Another characteristic that you should notice is that if you look at the letters, all four of the numbers, you'll note that the doubling is flattened down. It looks like it was mashed in rather than characteristic of something that's actually raised out of the coin. It looks like it's been flattened down rather than raised up.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we call the step-like appearance of machine doubling.
Yeah, that's very cool. You know, the reason I was going to say machine doubling over double die or repunched was because, and I could be completely wrong, but the reason I guessed that was because it appears that it is all of the shadow images, if you will, are all to the same direction.
Well, now, a double die would actually have everything to the same direction as well, because one thing that you have to remember that with a double die, you're going to have the entire design will be hubbed into the die, and then the die might shift or move a little bit, and then the entire design is hubbed in again. Mm-hmm. So if there's an offset between one hubbing and the next hubbing, everything still remains in the same place where it was before, except the die. It moves a little bit. And so that's what causes the doubling. We'll see actual double dies later on, and it'll snap into place.
Okay.
Image number 2. I'm going to give everybody out there in the audience a chance to take a look at this image number 2 and see what they say. This is a 1992 D Lincoln Cent. The photo is a little fuzzy. That wasn't my choice. I didn't take the photo. But you can see that there's something going on to the southeast in direction of all of the numbers and the mint mark down there. There's something going on to the southeast of everything.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'll wait just a minute for YouTube to catch up to us and just give it a good stare and see what you think it is.
Yeah, I think we're on about a 30 to 45 second delay with the YouTubers.
Oh, well, that's a little long.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, let me see here. I'm looking at the first one and I'm looking at the second one.
Uh-huh.
And these images do look flat and rounded.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and guess machine again.
And you would be right to an effect. Some people call this style of ghost doubling machine doubling, and other people don't. And to me, it's doubling as doubling gets. The first coin was caused by what's known as die chatter. Die chatter happens when the die is actually loose in the minting chamber, and it kind of does a double step. It does like a little double bounce on the coin, and the coin shifts just a little bit between that double bounce, and the die flattens down part of the letters, and that's what gives you that little step on the sides.
Gotcha.
Well, this second coin, the 1992D Lincoln Cent, was not done the same way. What happened on this one is the die actually started falling apart and it started chipping apart. And so there's not necessarily any kind of a bounce or movement in the die here. The die actually had those grooves in it that looked like doubling.
Oh, so that was actually, the grooves were actually stamped into the penny.
Well, yes, the grooves are actually minted into the coin that way. This is caused by die wear. And what happens is the die, the molecules of steel on the surface of the die tends to move outward, and they tend to expand as the die mints coins. And what happened in this particular case is the movement caused valleys outside of the digits, outside of the letters and outside of the mint mark. And this movement manifests itself as a shadow doubling on the outside edges of the letters. Now, 1992 would have been one of the years that, since 1991, actually 1990, 1990 was the first year that the mint mark was actually put into the master engraving to be put into the master die and transferred over to the working dies. So those mint marks were not placed by hand. So you'll hear a lot of people say you'll never see doubling in the date and the mint mark that's the same if it's a double die. That's not true. It's true prior to 1990. So it would be a part of the consideration for this particular coin. But one thing that you'll notice is that if you let your mind's eye do the talking and you look at the shadow doubling on the outside of the numbers, you'll notice that it doesn't carry the exact same shape and size as the digits on the coin.
Gotcha.
Because it doesn't carry the exact same shape and size as the digits on the coin, it's definitely not a double die.
It's a worn out die.
It's a worn out die is all it is.
So it was towards the end of the run before they had a chance to replace the die.
That's right. And this is what die wear looks like commonly on the zinc pennies. And on the coppers...
I think a logical question would be, how many pennies do you think they could get out of a die?
Well, that actually depends on the metal that's being minted. Back in 1943, when they minted the steel cents, they were lucky to get 200,000-300,000 coins out of a die. But with the normal brass and bronze, basically the ones up until 1982, they were able to get 750,000 to 1 million coins out of one die before the die was cracked, broken, or worn out to a point where they just couldn't use it anymore. Since the zinc era, it seems as though the way the dies are made and the way the planchets are made, the hardness of the planchet and the fact that they're plated, all of that goes into the metallurgy of how long is a die going to last. And they don't last as long. I think the newer zinc dies actually last, or they're not zinc dies. The zinc planchets, the dies that mint the zinc planchets, all the dies are made of steel. But the ones that mint the zinc planchets actually don't last as long as the ones that minted the copper. And you can tell with the die wear itself, because the die wear manifests in a completely different way when it's minting zinc than when it was minting copper. This particular thing that you see on the 1992D here, you would never see that on a copper cent. You only see it on the zinc ones.
It's because of the the hardness, the density of the coin,
right?
The planchet.
Yeah, it's because of the hardness of the metal it's minting.
Yeah.
Nickels, for instance, get a completely different type of die wear than pennies do. And that's because nickel is a much harder metal to mint than copper or zinc.
So that would mean that those nickel dies would go bad a lot quicker than a penny die would.
That's true. They mint far fewer than the penny dies did, even though nickels are made of 75% copper.
Right.
They're only 25% nickel.
Uh-huh.
But still, that nickel is the hardest metal we mint. And so you could imagine pure nickel coins would be even worse.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking everybody else's start smushed outward when pressed. Darla asks a question. So does he mean it smooshed outward when pressed? Trying to figure out what the question means. Oh, it's concave. Right, it's actually convex. It's convex because if you think about a die, she was asking whether or not the shadow doubling on the outside of the 92D was concave or convex. Concave meaning sunken in, and convex meaning pushed out. Mm-hmm. It's actually convex on the coin because it's concave on the die. If you take a die, if you take a smooth surface and you dig a trench in a smooth surface, and then you flip it over and make a negative of it, you're going to have a ridge where you had a concavity in the die. So the ridge is actually on the coin because the concavity is on the die. Mm-hmm. Oh, the bird Senegal parrot. This is baby bird. Thank you. So picture number 3, image number 3. We're looking at part of E pluribus unum on the back of a Lincoln cent. It's a little mushy, little fuzzy, but it's one of those things that when you're an attributor like I am, you see all kinds of people's pictures and they want an answer. And I've learned over the years to be able to interpret what I see and know the direction of lighting and know, sometimes I even know what kind of lighting they're using and what kind of camera they're using because I've seen so many pictures that people have taken.
Right.
And have to interpret what I see and be able to tell you what it is. So image number 3, I actually took that photo.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you think, Drew?
I'm thinking that's a double die.
You think it's a double die?
I'm guessing, but what I'm looking at is that it doesn't appear to be a shadow image.
Right.
Like the 92.
Okay. That's true. And it also doesn't necessarily.
But it also looks very rounded and not a lot of definition to the letters.
Okay.
That would say to me it's a worn out die.
Okay. This particular coin, there's a couple of things that you can look at to tell exactly what this is. This particular coin is a 1982 small date Lincoln cent. And it's the reverse side of the Lincoln cent. It's near the center of the design on the back, just above the memorial building. If you look at the second U of unum, you can see that the tops don't quite match up and there's a little notch inside there. Do you see that?
Yes.
Where you have one thing, then you have another thing next to it. What you have up here is called the notch. And that notch tells you without a doubt that's a double die. So you're right, this is a double die. It's also a very rare double die. There's only 2 or 3 of them known.
Really?
Yes.
Is this one from your collection?
No, this is one that I took a picture of. But it doesn't come from my collection.
No.
It's actually one of the coins that's featured in my little guide right there.
Oh yes, I see the picture. Yeah.
Okay.
What type of value could one assess to a coin like that?
Well, let's look it up. What I have in here, okay, so far there is not a gem BU known to exist. So we're guessing that a gem BU on this would be a $10,000 coin.
Wow.
So far, I know that AU coins have sold for over $1,000. And so I'm putting a value of $1,200 on About Uncirculated, which is the grade of the coin that I photographed there. And so far, one in uncirculated has never been found.
That's interesting. That's probably a result of the fact there are so few of them out there. The odds of there being an uncirculated one go way down, or way up, depending.
Well, actually, okay, given that it's a small date and it's a zinc cent, the zinc cents, especially the first couple of years they minted them, they didn't do very well through quality control. And zinc cents have a tendency to rot. If there's any split in the copper plating, the zinc underneath will corrode and rot, and then the coin will basically just essentially disintegrate and fall apart.
Yeah, us metal detectors, we call those water-soluble pennies.
Water-soluble pennies, there you go. And the first few years that they minted the zinc cents, that was just it was an atrocious problem they had. They eventually resolved that issue around 1988, 89, but any of the double dies from 82 up to 88, they're water-soluble. They disintegrate easily. Mm-hmm. And 1982, you also have to remember that we had the large date, the small date, the copper, the zinc, the yada, yada, yada. And what ended up happening was they used, I mean, this is like one of the smallest mintage memorial cents in existence by type and date. And then you've got a major double die that has been out and it wasn't found until 25 years after it was issued. And so now you've got this this rarity within a rarity, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Penguin Chick says that she can't see something because she's too late to see it. And I'm thinking that probably is the visual aid that I'm talking about. If you go down below the video, there's a link down there to coppercoins.com/supra. You can click on that, look at it, and we're currently on image 3, working our way up to image number 4.
You know what? While we have a chance, I'd like to welcome Darla Seafluth, Penguin Chick, and let's see, Ohio Metal Detecting, my buddy Josh, and also Past Pursuits. They've entered the room since we did our last little shout outs to the people participating.
Awesome, and I appreciate people being here.
Yeah, I do as well. Thank you very much, guys.
Listening to me and the bird.
You calling me a bird?
by the way, he may just start laughing out of the blue. This bird starts laughing. So don't be surprised if he does. So back to the visual aid. We're up to image number 4.
Number 3.
We're up to image number 4. It's a black and white photo of a 1969 S Lincoln. What do you think about that one?
Well, let me see. 69S. I'm aware that there is a double die of that one. Am I correct?
There is a nice major double die in 1969S. Yes, you are correct.
Would this happen to be it?
That's what I'm asking you. You're the detective here.
Oh boy, I'm gonna say it looks so much like the first one, except it's a little sharper and rounded. Like the 6 and the 9 are nice and rounded. They're not flattened out. Mm-hmm. I'm going to guess this is the double die.
Okay. There's 2 things that I'm going to point your eye to that I want you to look at and consider your answer. First thing is the bottom of the 6 in the date.
Okay.
And then the mint mark itself.
I already see what you're referring to.
I want you to look at those 2 things and then tell me what you think.
Well, the 6, the bottom of the curl on the 6th is very thin. And the S, the bottom of the S is nearly non-existent.
Okay. So would a double die do that? Look at the picture right up above it. And
yeah.
That everything is almost double thick. It's got like 2 pencils laying next to each other. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then now look at 1969S. You've got basically a pencil that's had a bite taken out of it.
That indicates to me that could be like a worn out die then.
Your number 1 indicator of a machine doubling is that it doesn't take up the full hi bird. It doesn't how can I best put this? The doubling takes up part of the profile of the normal set of letters rather than of the normal set of letters. So if you look at the profile all the way around the doubling, and basically what I'm going to say is both sets of characters on that 1969S, you'll see that that profile, if you follow it all the way around, looks like a completely normal 1969S Lincoln cent. And the doubling chewed away part of that normal profile.
Mm-hmm.
That's your number one indicator that you've got die chatter, or something that bounced, where the die bounced and it actually took up part of the profile of the normal letters.
And that would make it machine doubling then, right?
That would make it machine doubling. The other thing that I want you to know and notice, and one of the main reasons why I put this particular coin in there, is that I mentioned earlier that in 1990, they started adding the mint marks directly to the master, so that all dies were created with the mint mark already embedded into the die. Well, from 1989 on back, all of the dies were created with no mint mark on them. And then after the die was finished and sitting in a box in storage, somebody would pull it out and punch a mint mark in it. So the mint mark was a completely different part of the process than after 1990. And it's also a completely different part of the process than actually creating the die. So in 1969, a double die would not have doubling on the mint mark that matches the doubling on the die, because they're two completely different parts of the process.
Interesting. Okay.
So the real 1969S double die, the one that we're all out there looking for, has no doubling on the mint mark.
Because it was minted separately.
Because it was punched into the die by hand long after the die was created. So the die already had all of its doubling in it before the mint mark even came around.
So it would be impossible to see. Good point. So if you do see the shadow image, that's your indication that it's not going to be the double die. It's going to be the chatter or the machine doubling.
Right, but again, like I said with the very first image, this one also has flattening. The doubling looks very flat and sunken down to the field. Whereas if you look at the photograph right above it, the doubling actually stands out, just like you've got two sets of characters. It's exactly what Fox Muller just said. That a true double die looks like two full stamps. And that kind of, that makes sense. It isn't really how it happens, but it makes sense that it looks like two complete sets of letters rather than one set of letters dug out of another set of letters. So with that, let's look at image number 5.
Okay, before we go to image number 5,
yeah,
I absolutely have to say welcome to the room, Bill and Bob from East Coast Treasure Hunters. Two good friends of mine who have been away from YouTube for a while, and they've just come back, and I know everybody is very excited to see them back. They're twins, and they're just hilarious guys. Swansea Searcher is in the room, and Jackie Smith is also in the room. Welcome, guys.
Welcome to the show.
Okay, you were saying image number 5.
Image number 5. It has a 1991 Lincoln cent.
Wow. I see no shadow image on the second one.
That's correct. Which is an indicator of something.
And the 9s don't look identical either.
That's another indicator. You're onto something.
Uh-huh. See, I'm starting to get it here.
There you go.
That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to guess this is a double die. No? Well, how come? All right, here's my question.
Okay.
I don't see an image on, or a shadow image on the second one. I see it on both of the 9s and on the first one. Mm-hmm. Now, could this be? Wait, hold on. Could this possibly be where the die rotated part ways?
Actually, what this is it has to do with how the coin is ejected out of the minting chamber, how it unsticks itself from the die, and what direction it's moving at the time that it's ejected from the minting chamber. This particular...
So did it drag across the die as it was ejected?
That's kind of what it looks like. This is the indicators that you have are, first of all, the nines are not the same shape that you would expect. Mm-hmm. You would expect them to be more a Gothic font, which means that just as wide all the way around. And these have hooks on the inside, and they're really, really thin way up at the top. There's just no way that there's a full hubbing of a 9 there as a secondary hubbing. You'll also notice, and remember what I had told you before with regard to the shape of the letters when you're looking at machine doubling. If you look at the overall outside profile of the two parts of the letters together, you'll see that they're completely normal sized and shaped letters.
Gotcha.
One of the indicators there is if you look at the first one and the last one, they're both the same height.
Yeah.
If this was a double die, you would actually have your secondary set of ones would make it taller than it should be.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
Yeah. So what I'm seeing, what you're saying is that the shadow image below is perfect, whereas the raised image is what's damaged, and that's from the ejection.
Yes. Well, in this particular case, it's probably ejection, but another thing that can cause this is that the die comes down for its full strike, and then the machine is stopped, and it comes down and kisses the coin, and then when they start the machine back up, it ejects out. And so what you end up with is kind of a double-kissed coin that's been moved just a little bit, and it could be during a malfunction of the machine. It could be where they stop the press to fix another part of the machine. It could be a number of different things. I don't ever venture to guess exactly what caused different types of machine doubling or what caused different types of damage on a coin. There are so many different potential causes of this stuff. It's a lot more important to be able to recognize what is collectible versus what's not, rather than try to pick apart all the things on what's not.
So what accounts for the second one being nearly perfect? That part of the die struck perfectly, whereas the other parts of the die didn't strike because the coin was moving?
Well, the coin was falling off of the die at the time that it was ejected. That one had already fallen far enough out of place that when the ejection arm came...
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
It had already snapped out of that area, and it did not damage that one.
Interesting. Is this a common thing that we see among the newer pennies, the zinc pennies?
This isn't necessarily so common. This is just one of the different ones that you're going to see. I think this particular type of machine doubling is actually a lot more common on late 60s and early 70s, especially with 69. 68 and 69 tend to be very, very common with the type of machine doubling you'll see in image 4, as well as the type of doubling that you're looking at in image 5. The type of machine doubling these were caused by slightly different things, which is what makes them look a little bit different from one another. The important thing to recognize is that these are both caused by machine doubling. And knowing the difference between a true hub double die and machine doubling is very important when you're trying to pick out what's valuable versus what's not. Now, I'm not saying that there's no value to any of these coins that I'm showing you that are machine doubling. All I'm saying is that they're generally not accepted by the overall market as a valuable piece to collect. So I'm not trying to instruct anyone on what to collect and what not to collect. I'm basically just saying that if you want coins that have marketable value to other people as a whole, as a market, double dies are definitely the way to go. And machine doubling is interesting educational pieces that you can put in your book and smile when you show them to people, but they're not going to bring any money when you take them to a dealer.
Interesting. So they're good conversation pieces and for educational, but as far as something one might want to invest in, the value just isn't there.
Right. The value is not there for machine doubling. So let's look at the next picture. What do you think? Image number 6. You could tell this is a proof quarter.
Hold on a second here. Let me write down a note here. Let's take this opportunity real quick to welcome Shane Chick, Eddie Hinkle, and John DeShays to the room. Oh, and I see AU Rebel just joined also. Okay, image number 6. Okay, I'm looking right at it right now.
Okay. For all
I
the
see a little notch in the R on the T.
Well, let me give you this. For the people who just joined in, if you go below the video, there's a link. That link is to coppercoins.com/supra. You click on that link and slide down to photo number 6. That's what we're talking about right now.
Yes, Chuck has given us a really great education on double dies, machine doubling, etc., on how to identify these. And he's taking me to school, kids.
Well, I mean, this is an important thing to know. And
I agreed. This is why, you know, when we were talking about this the other day, I thought this was a really good subject for us to go over. I mean, it may be a little bit boring to some people, but, you know, to a lot of people out there, this is pretty important. And, you know, I see a lot of people on the CoinRoll, you know, CoinRoll finds and curiosities page that, you know, put up a coin and say, hey, look, I found a DDO. And then Chuck says, no, that's machine doubling. And, you know, it is important to know what you have.
Right, exactly. So I think everyone who just came in has probably had a chance to go in and study that picture. Hi, Shane Chick.
I see Kojo's joined the room.
And Kojo.
Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine. He's a metal detectorist. Okay, so I'm looking at image number 6 here.
Image number 6.
I definitely see damage to the bottom of the R and the T.
Okay.
I'm thinking this is probably a worn out die.
Worn out die would have a lot of softness to the outer edges of the lettering.
And I don't see that. I see sharpness.
Exactly. So it's not a worn out die.
Could it be a damaged die?
It could be a damaged die, but it isn't.
So is this a classic double die then?
This is a classic double die. The red arrows are pointing.
See how I went down the path?
Exactly. Exactly. You had to. I mean, all the paths lead back home, and there you are at home. This is a double die. This is a classic double die because one of the things that you can see is notching at the corner of the letters. Allow me to use these little flip inserts here to show you what notching is. I've got this flip insert right here represents a normal letter on a normal coin. But if I was to hub this again and put it off center, you'll see that there's a little notch right up here. Corner. Okay. Now, if you look at the lower right of the vertical leg of the R, you'll see exactly what I'm doing here, only flipped around the other way. You're going to see it down here.
Yep, I see that.
And there's your notch. You have the corner serifs, the corners of the serif of the letter, the two different letters that were actually the two instances of letters that were hubbed into this die off kilter from one another. You're going to see that notch in there where you've got the two corners. That is classic double die. Anytime you see that, it's definitely double die. Now, if you were to slide back up to image 3 and look at that 1982 double die again, you'll see those notches that I was talking about, especially at the tops of the U of unum.
Yep.
Okay. Now you definitely see what I'm talking about notching. And look at the lower legs of the M of unum on image number 3.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at first when you said the upper part of that U. I was actually looking at the M and seeing that this notch is at the lower left, whereas on image number 6, it's on the lower right.
Right, and that's all about what direction the die turned between hubbings. And so the other thing to note is that the R, this is the R in the word Liberty above Washington's head on a proof quarter. Looks like a silver proof. I'm not really sure what year it is, but I'm sure someone who knows them could tell me. You'll also notice that this vertical leg of the R is actually too thick. It's thicker than it should be.
Yeah.
As on a normal proof. That, again, that's one of your indicators that you have a double die, because you've got those two different things essentially sitting next to each other, and where it's sitting next to each other, you have extra thickness.
Mm-hmm.
So I got two square pieces of paper here, but it looks like a rectangle when I do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what causes that extra thickness on your double dies.
Yeah, if you look carefully at that vertical on the R,
mm-hmm.
and you kind of squint a little bit, you can actually kind of see where it should be and where it has widened.
Yes, you can see that, and what that's called, excellent detective work there. What that's called is your separation line. You have a separation line between one hubbing and the next hubbing, and you can see it running up the right side of the R above the left side of the notch. You can see it
Yes.
running up that, and it's a slight shadow.
Exactly, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and if you pull back up again, if you look at image number 3 again, with the E pluribus unum on the back of the cent, everywhere that you see darkness in the center of a letter, that's what we call a separation line. That separation line separates your first hubbing with your second hubbing. Mm-hmm. So if I was to do this, I'm going to put, there's my double die. I've got a yellow one. Here, I'm going to do it like that right there. I've got a yellow one and I've got a white one together. And that separation line is the edge of the white overlapping the yellow.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool, actually, you know?
So there's one of your indicators that you have a double die. Okay, you've got notching, you've got extra thickness, you've got separation line, you've got something that just looks different, something that looks odd.
Now, what about to the right of the round part of the R on top?
That's where the secondary R is showing through from underneath.
Gotcha. And then the diagonal part of the front of the lower right of the R is thinner where it meets the the top part of the R. It gets fat and then gets thinner and comes to a point.
Yes. And this one actually gets fatter than it should because, once again, you have a double die.
Exactly.
And you've got that extra thickness happening.
Mm-hmm.
The T is thicker than it should be.
Yeah, it doesn't look right, because if you look at the vertical as compared to the horizontal, shouldn't they be about the same thickness?
Not on these particular letters, but it should be a little thicker than the horizontal.
Yeah, but not that much different.
Right, exactly. This is almost like a double thickness.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's see if there's any other questions out there.
All right.
Utah Redneck Nichols says he's just passed the class so far.
No, diplomas will be issued.
Yeah, diplomas will be issued. Let's see. Guess I don't have any other questions for right now.
I think they're just following along so intently they don't have any questions yet.
Okay.
If you guys do have questions, please feel free to let us know in the chat. We'll try to get to them as quick as we can. We'll stop in between each image to look back and see if we have any questions.
Okay.
I think we're good to go for the next image.
Okay. So let's move on to the next one. Image number 7. You have a part of the United on the reverse of a, I'm going to tell you that it's a copper Memorial Cent. No, I don't know the date of this coin, and no, I did not take this picture. What do you think you have, Supradrew?
I'm thinking this is machine doubling.
You're thinking right. What made you
I'm
think
thinking this because it's too uniformed. There is no fatness. There is no notching.
Okay.
It's too uniformed.
No notching is your first indicator. The fact that you're doubling is actually stepping down from the relief of the normal letters. So you have that stepping down effect is your second definite indicator that that's machine doubling. This is classic machine doubling, but it's manifested itself in a way that kind of looks like actual hub doubling.
But because there's no notch, you can be pretty certain that it's not.
Yes, there's no notching, and also it's kind of small and it's kind of difficult to detect, but your doubling is actually taking up some of the profile of the normal shape of the letter. Because if you look at the overall outside appearance of the doubling with the letter itself, you'll notice that they're perfect for the size and shape of normal letters. So there again, if you slide up one picture and remember your R on Liberty, you'll notice that that has a very odd shape when you talk about normal shape of letters. And then you slide back down to this United, they all look normal. If you look at only the outside profile, there again, you're talking about machine double.
Yeah, you don't have the thickness like on the vertical part of the R and the T.
Right. Yeah, my friend Bill Fiva says that they have to have character, and that coins like this don't have character.
That makes a lot of sense.
Let's go over and see if we got any questions real quick. King Coin, we are on image number 7, discussing a black and white photo of part of the United of a Memorial Cent.
We should welcome King Coin to the room. We haven't given him a shout out yet.
Utah Redneck Nichols says he's still at 100%.
I think I believe Utah. He's always been a pretty good guy, pretty honest. I think if he says he's at 100%, I believe him.
Would you like to move to the next image?
Let's do it.
Image number 8.
Oh, the double ear.
You're looking at a part of what could be a doubled ear, or it could be machine doubling, or it could be a worn out die, or it could be a lot of different things. What do you think, Drew?
Well, I'm looking right now. The first thing I'm looking at is the profile. Around the nose, the forehead, the lips, the beard, the back of the hair. Everything looks too good.
Okay.
So I'm thinking it's not a worn out die, and it's not machine doubled anywhere.
Okay.
I'm going to guess this is probably, boy, that's a good question. It looks to me like the die itself has an error in it because the rest of the coin looks good.
Okay, well, the die itself does have an error in it because that's what a double die is.
Yep, that's a double die then.
So this is a double die. This particular coin is an extremely rare 1988 doubled ear Lincoln Cent. A lot of people have heard of the 1984, but most people haven't heard of the 1988. This one's from 1988, and there are very few of them known, and it is a double die. One of the things, as Drew indicated earlier, that you can tell that this is a double die is that if you compare this coin to another 1988 Lincoln Cent, you'll notice that the ear that has all the black around it, showing that it's the one that's standing out more, that ear is a completely normal size and shape for an ear on a Lincoln Cent. So this extra lobe that you have down here has to be something that's not part of the normal size and shape of the ear of a Lincoln Cent. So additionally, you're also not talking about machine doubling, because if that lobe was machine doubled, then it would actually chew away at the normal size and shape of the ear. And alas, we have a completely normal ear with an extra lobe underneath it. Double die it must be.
Very good. Yeah, I like that.
little bit of the scientific process that we use to go through and tell what we're looking at and what we've got. Ah, looks like Utah Redneck Nichols missed one. I'm guessing it's the double deer.
Nobody's perfect.
He probably guessed that it was a worn out die or something.
I just got a message from Coin Hunting Drew. He can't make it onto the chat this evening and watch the video. His computer's in pieces. He had a fan blow out on him. So he said he's going to try to watch the replay tomorrow. So let's go ahead and send a shout out to our buddy Coin Hunting Drew.
Hi, Coin Hunting Drew. I almost didn't make it because we had a thunderstorm roll in the area and all my power shut down on me.
Let me tell you, I was getting a little nervous when I hadn't heard from you by about 6 o'clock.
Yeah. And I was hoping that I could get everything back up and working again. Now, Utah Redneck Nichols asks a very important question. And he says, why is it only on the ear and nowhere else?
Well, I can answer that one.
Okay, go ahead.
As you explained, it's because it's not a machine doubling. It's actually in the die itself.
Okay. So then why, if I was to double the design on a die, would it only show up on the ear and not on the eye or the mouth or the back of the head or the beard somewhere else?
I think it's probably part of the process in which the die was made. There was an error in making the die itself.
You're absolutely correct. And here I'll show you. I do not have a good picture right now, so I'm just going to draw one real quick. This is how I got into art, by the way. I was actually drawing what I didn't have photographs of. A die does not actually start out as a flat conical bar of steel. A die actually starts out with a cone at the top of it, like this. So the first kiss from the hub comes down, and it actually only does about this much of the design. Then it lifts off, and then the die goes into the annealing oven with a partial design in the center, and then when they send it back into the hubbing press again, the hub would bring it down to about this level, and then in the third, fourth, fifth kiss by the hub, it would actually put the entire design in. So the design was actually laid into the die in steps, starting with the center of the design working its way outward. And the ear is near the center of the design. So that was the part that was doubled, because after that first kiss, the die was moved, and then it continued to have its different hubbings. And that first hubbing with just the ear in it, is the part that's doubled. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, Utah says not being else everywhere in what he said. Wait, I'm not following what he's written here. What he's written. He says
doubling not being everywhere is what made him think it was a double. It was not a double die.
Mm-hmm.
There are actually a few different double dies in Lincoln cents that are known to only exist in the center area of the design. In fact, there's a lot of them. Another huge one is the 1984 doubled ear. You have the ear is doubled, the beard is doubled, and the bow tie is doubled, but that's it. The date, the In God We Trust, the Liberty, none of that is doubled. And that's another instance of this exact same thing, where the center of the design is hubbed in first, and it kind of mashes down the center, and then they go ahead and get the rest of the design done in later hubbings. And that's done because they don't want the hub to break, so they don't overstress the hub by trying to do the entire design at once. And of late, since 1997, they've been making the dies all in one step, and I think they do something different. I don't know exactly what it is, but they do something different to be able to get the entire design into the die all in one smush, and it causes different kinds of doubling that they hadn't expected, because they were trying to get rid of hub doubling altogether. And well, that didn't quite happen. We have 2014 double dies that people look for. There's 2011 double dies that people look for.
I remember you and I were discussing the 11s and the 14s recently.
Yeah, and those are actually pretty nice double dies. The more modern double dies, you're not looking for that separation line. What you're looking for, sometimes there's notches, sometimes there's not, but you're looking for a lot of extra thickness in the letters. If you see the 2014 double die, one of the nicer ones, the 2014, the shape of the letters is actually, it looks like they're pulled like taffy, and that's how the double dies manifest themselves in the single squeeze hubbing process, which started in 1997.
Very interesting. Have you ever been to any of the U.S. mints to see them actually producing coins?
No, actually, I haven't. And
I went to the Washington, D.C. mint, and we saw bills being made, but I've never been to the Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco mints.
well, as strange as it may seem, I've been to Philadelphia, I've been to Denver, I've been to San Francisco, I've been to New Orleans, I've been to Charlotte, North Carolina, I've been to Carson City, Nevada, and the only mint I have ever been to no longer exists. It was Dahlonega, Georgia, a small town up in central mountainous North Georgia. The courthouse downtown, they have a museum of the Dahlonega Mint, but the original mint burned down, I think, in 1878, and then it was rebuilt, and now it is a center. It's one of the halls for a college. And so the original Dahlonega Mint is the only mint in the United States that I've actually tried to tour, been to, and it's the only one that doesn't exist anymore.
I guess going by your list, I've been to all of those cities except for Dahlonega and Denver. I've actually even been to West Point.
See, West Point, that's one that I still have trouble considering a mint. I don't know why.
Well, they're not. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah.
I have trouble considering a mint, I guess, because it's not a huge, beautiful, giant, ornate building with a bunch of columns out front. It looks like a warehouse.
It does. You wouldn't even look twice at it.
And I don't think the public is even allowed there, are they?
No, but I've actually been to the city a couple times.
Okay.
But I've never been to the West Point Mint inside, no. Driven by it, but I've never been inside of it.
Next photo.
Okay, number 9.
Let's look at number 9. You'll see the word sen. This is actually a Malaysian coin.
That looks like machine doubling to me because the letters are too perfect.
Okay.
Although I do see some notching on the top of the vertical line of the E.
Okay. So what does that notching tell you?
And I do see, wow, that's interesting. This one has elements of both, doesn't it?
Kind of.
But the lines look too even. You know what I mean? They don't have that characteristic that you were talking about.
Okay.
This looks like machine doubling to me.
Double die. You cannot
Okay.
have notching on machine doubling. If it has notching, it has to be a double die.
Okay. Even if the letters look good, if there's the notching, it's got to be a double die.
Yeah, this one just happens to manifest itself directly in line with the direction that the letters are set toward the rim. This one's actually I believe it's a class 2 double die, where actually what happened is between hubbings, the hub actually warped, or the die actually warped. One of the two of them actually warped, and what happened was you've got this expansion warping going on that's outside of the kiss of the die and the hub itself. So the hub came down, hubbed your die. You send your die off to have it cooked to make it stronger. It comes back and it's swollen. So now it's warped. You hub it, you kiss it with the hub again, and what you end up with are basically
It's not going to fit.
The die is a different shape and size now than it was last. Yes, thank you very much. The die is actually a different shape than it was the first time it went in. And so what you end up with is two sets of letters, one offset toward the outside of the design from the other.
Yeah,
And
so it's not. Yeah, when you go for that, it's not going to fit
right,
because yeah.
exactly. So that's image number 9. And let's see. I'm looking to see if we have questions about this one.
Looks like Rennie Man Jr., my buddy Rob, is in the room. Justin from Coins Unwrapped is in the room now.
He's wanting you to okay something before he posts it. Says, hey, Andrew, I don't have much time, but would you mind if I were to post a link to my family's GoFundMe page to support my family to help my mom's medical expenses?
You can try, but I don't think it'll let you.
That might be a YouTube thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't post links in the chat room. It won't let you.
Okay.
I've actually tried to do that before. It won't let you. He can write it out in not link form, and it may accept it. Hey, looks like Rick Thomas just joined the room.
Hi, Rick Thomas. Yeah, it's my Senegal parrot here. GoFundMe.com/coinsunwrapped.
That's easy enough.
That's really simple. GoFundMe.com/coinsunwrapped. Coins Unwrapped, I wish the very best for your family. I don't know what's going on. Don't need to. All I need to know is that there's trouble out there, and if there's trouble out there, let's get out there and help them.
Yeah, this is a really great community, and we really rally behind people that need our assistance. So I definitely endorse going to his GoFund page and do what you can to help him out.
There you go. There's a few spaces in there, but I think everybody can figure out what that means. GoFundMe.com/coinsunwrapped.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Justin's mother has been having some medical issues, and I can only imagine those bills are racking up.
Wow.
I've been there. My mother's been in the hospital for more than 2 months, and I thank God that she was a high-level state employee with absolutely fantastic insurance, and we're still getting bills. So I can only imagine what Justin's going through right now.
But let's not to take away from the light of the subject here, but I want to get back to the video so we can get it finished on time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're at 9:05, so we got about 55 more minutes.
Okay. Had 2 questions, or basically kind of questions, actually things I want to comment on. Utah Regnant Nichols says he's still 8 for 9 even though the foreign coin didn't get him. Foreign coins shouldn't get you because the dies are manufactured basically the same way that dies in the United States are manufactured. So given that, if you know what a double die is, you could find a double die from Guatemala or from Thailand and it wouldn't make any difference. You would still know it's a double die because the rules are the same regardless of where the coins were made. Second thing is King Coin says, would you say machine doubling does not mean double die? That is correct. Machine doubling and double die are 2 completely different things. A double die is actually doubled at the time the die is created. So the die itself, when you take it over to the press and start making coins, it already has doubling in it. So all of the coins that are minted with a double die end up with doubling on the coins. Whereas machine doubling happens with a completely normal die, completely normal design, at the point of time that the die actually strikes the coin. It may be a little loose, there may be some chatter, there may be something else going on, or the coin sticks to the die and is shoved off the die and it slides that design around. That's what machine doubling is. So machine doubling is caused by the striking process itself, whereas a double die actually has the doubling on the steel that makes the coins. That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to move on to the bottom image, number 10.
All right, let me click off of the chat room here. Okay, got it.
Okay, image number 10 is going to is going to jar, rattle, and confuse a lot of people. So I'm going to go ahead and just explain this one, because you may or may not.
I have a guess. Go ahead.
Go ahead and give me a guess. What's your guess?
Well, I'm going by what you said a moment ago about the notching and about the character. I'm looking at the A of America on the top image and the second A on the second image, and I'm seeing a difference in them.
Okay.
They have a lot of character to them, a lot of roundness, but I don't see the notching. I'm looking at the bottom of the R, and it looks fat and then thin.
Right.
I'm going to guess this is a double die.
This is a double die. It is actually a strong double die. The reason that you don't see the notching that you might be looking for is because the hubbings were set in an alignment that's kind of like this. So you don't have that notching that you would see if they were set like this. So since they were set straight across from one another, you're not really seeing the notching where you would expect. And the one thing that I can give you that will make this definitely double die in your mind is if you look at the hole in the center of the A on both A's in America, the hole is a lot smaller than it should be.
Gotcha.
And the reason for that is that secondary set of lettering. Now this is a double die. It's a 1964 double die reverse dime, or it might be a 1946. 1946 and 1964 were both relatively populated with double dies, and it's really strange that the first year they made them and the last year they made them, there's a lot of double dies and not very many in between. But
that is interesting.
1946 and 1964 are the two most common years for doubling on Roosevelt dimes, and this is one of those, and it is a double die. Now, if you were to take this image number 10 and go back up to image number 7 and compare the two, they look very close to one another in how they're manifested, what they look like. But the one thing that I can tell you that'll help you out with this is that if you were to look at another normal dime, you would see that all of these letters are thicker and whiter than they should be. Given that they're thicker and whiter than they should be, it can't be a machine doubling coin because that chews away from the normal profile of the letters, whereas a double die is always going to add to the normal profile of the letters. So here you definitely have a double die. And I pulled this one out especially because it has no notching. You can't see the notching.
Oh, good. You're trying to throw a little wrench into it, are you?
Actually, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you all the different ways that these things can manifest themselves and how difficult it can be sometimes to tell what's what.
Very good. I like that is a really good image there, because with the lack of notching, people would automatically probably assume that would be a machine double, wouldn't they?
Exactly. Yeah.
So on the O of in the top image, would that be postmint damage?
You're talking about the marks that are actually up high
on marks up there, up around 1 o'clock.
Yes, yeah, that's coin hit. And there's actually a little bit of surface flaking, looks like lamination above the C in America. That's a little bit of a lamination peel going on there. But yeah, it appears to me that it's a circulated coin. It's probably not an uncirculated coin. The amount of rim damage above the of is probably enough to show that that's not a purely uncirculated coin.
Very cool.
So let's take a look at the visual aids for the Supradrew show, and I start my image numbering all over again. So this is the last half after the solid line. You go down to the bottom below that image number 10, and you'll see that we start over with an image number 1. And these are things that I just want to go through, and I want to explain what they are real quick so that everyone will have a good idea as to what they're looking at. This particular photo of a 1985 D Lincoln Cent, the first thing that you will get from this, okay, so the photographer took this picture because he thought this was an interesting one to show. because a lot of people have a tendency to believe that this extra line outside of the D is a repunch mint mark. And
it appears to be a D over D.
Yes, it appears to be a D over D repunch mint mark. And actually what happened here is in 1985, the mint marks were still being punched into the individual dies by hand. As the mint marks are individually punched into the dies by hand, they can be tilted just a little bit. Well, what every die needs in order for a coin to be released from the die properly is the letters and numbers and everything else have to have a little bit of a bevel like this. And so, you know, your die comes down, or your die actually mints the coin, and they have to be able to release from one another. And if you had a straight up and down side like this,
you have friction on the outer edges.
The friction may not allow it to release properly. And so what happens sometimes is those D mint marks get punched into the die such that there is a straight up and down edge. What happens when the die comes back up and the coin is moved off is it shears that copper plating. When it shears that copper plating, it splits it open. What happens when zinc mixes with oxygen?
Oxidizes.
It becomes zinc oxide. It becomes basically white powder. And that allows that zinc underneath what was a solid copper shell to oxidize, and it blows out. And that's what you see on this particular coin. If you look at the 88D down below it, you'll see basically the exact same effect happening, except this one hasn't completely blown out yet. And what you have is a bubble. It's a bubble of copper above a bunch of zinc that has basically disintegrated. Oddly enough, it's shaped like a ghost.
Yeah.
So this is the de-ghost penny. But you know, this is just another case of where the zinc underneath is eroding, and it's causing that bubble in the copper plating.
Interesting.
Well, let's move to image 3, and this one was taken by someone on Facebook, and this was submitted asking what's going on with this coin. Well, what's going on with this coin is common die wear. What happens, especially for the earlier zinc coins, I don't know exactly why the zincs did this, but you'll never see this on a copper. You'll see it on the zinc starting in 1982. And it has to do with the composition of the planchets themselves and how they made the dies. But what happens when a die starts to wear out is inside the rim, there's this area of weakness. There's like this region of weakness on the die where those molecules of steel start to fleck out of the die. And when they start to fleck out of the die, of course, they're going to leave a concavity in the die. Well, what happens when you flip that over and you mint a coin with it? You end up with a ridge on the coin. And that's what this is. All the way around, and there's a lot of coins like this from the 1980s, and a whole lot of people bring them up. And I'm not saying they only happen in the 1980s, but you won't find them on a copper. And you'll find them a lot more commonly in the 1980s than you will in the 1990s or thereafter. But what happened basically is that the surface of the die is starting to erode away, and it's leaving this trench all the way around the outside edge of the die. And then you flip that over onto a coin, it leaves a ridge.
Right.
And it's basically eroding away. If you look at the bottom right photograph, it's kind of tinted blue, but if you look at the bottom right photograph, the word "in" of "In God We Trust" is actually almost eroded away to the point where it's becoming illegible. And so let's move to the next image. And the next
you said that somebody posted this one online?
Yes. I found all of these photos. I found them online.
Okay.
I found them either in the Coin Roll Hunting group, or I found them in the Errors and Varieties group that I'm an admin of.
Because I think I've seen this image before.
You probably have, because I think it came up in the same place where we hang out together.
Gotcha. Okay, image 4.
Image number 4. This one was definitely one that was posted on Facebook. It's a very good photograph. And this photograph shows very very well what happens when dyes wear out, when they start to wear. You'll notice if you look above and below the 3 of the date, you'll see a bunch of lines radiating out toward the rim. A bunch of real fine little lines radiating outward. You'll notice that within this radiating area outside of the 3 and the D, you'll see that there's actually a concavity on the coin, which is actually a ridge on the die. This is a different type of manifestation of die wear, but you'll notice that outside of those, toward the rim, you'll see a secondary rim, which is basically the exact same thing as was on the 1989 coin up above. This is once again die wear. This is another way that die wear manifests on zinc pennies.
Now this is not to be confused with like a shifted die or an offset die.
No, those would be double dies. Or it could also be a double struck. If you've got a secondary rim, it could be a double struck. It could also be a what they call a mad die clash, which is an off-centered die clash where the clash of a rim of the reverse clashes into the obverse. And
gotcha. You're right.
Secondary rim on the inside. That's not what this is. What this is pretty common die wear.
And the lines above and below the 3 are just the definite indication of that.
Those are actually trenches cut by molecules of steel that bead up from the surface and roll outward. Kind of like raindrops on a windshield when you're traveling down the highway.
Right, they have streaks.
They radiate outward, and they've got these little trails that follow them, and that's what these are. They're little trails that what caused it is steel moving outward on the die.
Gotcha.
Now the next coin, this isn't really doubling or anything that has to do with doubling. This one actually stumped me for about 30 minutes until I sat and thought about it and figured out that this is intentional damage done to a coin. This is not a struck through. The date's not missing for any mint purpose or reason. And the reason I can tell this, or the way that I can tell this, there's 2 things. The first thing is there are raised areas in the field on both sides of the coin where they shouldn't be. If you look just outside of the bow tie toward where the date would be, there's a raised area on the obverse. And then on the reverse, you'll notice how the whole area of the field all around that pockmarked area is kind of wavy. Okay. Now, you also have pockmarked areas both on the obverse and reverse of the coin. Now, I can't tell you exactly what did cause this, but I can tell you what didn't. The mint.
Post-mint damage or intentional damage?
Post-mint damage of some sort. But for a moment, I was thinking this could be a struck-through obstruction. The owner of the coin was thinking a lamination, but this isn't a lamination. The edges are too smooth. On a lamination, it's almost like you've torn the metal apart. And you're not going to have that fall off where you can see that something's been pushed into the coin on a lamination. I can also tell you that this is a 1973 Lincoln cent.
And tell us how you can tell that.
It's a 1-year type. You see how the R and the T of Liberty are of different strengths, and the T looks like it has just a little bulb thing sitting up on top of a stick. That's the only year it was shaped like that.
Good catch. It almost looks like somebody tried to use a hammer and stamp something into that coin.
I'm thinking that, or a tool of some sort, like pliers or something that had a
vise.
Yeah, a vise or pliers or some tool, because if you take those parts of the coin, you flip the coin over, where the date is matches up perfectly with the upper right-hand side of the memorial building.
Yeah, like maybe somebody grabbed channel locks and...
Right. So those areas of damage are exactly opposite one another on the coin, which is another indicator to me that there's something going on outside the mint, because typically you're not going to have an obstruction on a die in the exact same spot on opposite sides.
Good catch. Yeah, it definitely looks like something has grabbed it and squeezed it.
Exactly.
I mean, you can actually see directly to the right and down ever so slightly from Unum on the reverse, you can actually see where it's differing depths.
Exactly. It's kind of it's sort of like it's chewed into the surface of the coin, so it's actually moved that field over just a little bit.
Yep, exactly.
There's actually a ridge at the memorial directly underneath the M of Unum. There's actually a ridge there where when you move metal around on a coin, it has to go somewhere.
Right.
Oh, and that's where it went.
Yeah, you can see where it's going like that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I wish
Is that our final image?
I wish I could see the initials on the memorial side on this particular coin, then I could tell you for sure. The 1973 is the only year of Lincoln cent that has a 1-year type on the obverse and a 1-year type on the reverse. And the 1-year type on the reverse of the 1973 Lincoln cent, the designer's initials FG down to the right side of the memorial, they're huge, and it's the only year that they did that. They're almost as tall as the entire base of the memorial building. And the reason they did that was because in 72 they were starting to wear away, and they were really, really small, and they were starting to wear away, and they noticed on a few of the different dies that they had completely worn off. And so in 1973 they made this new reverse design that was a lot thicker and bolder, and they decided to make huge letters. Somebody told them to cut it out, so in 74 they made them smaller again.
Yeah. That's a good indication it's a 73 then. It's too bad we can't see that FG.
Yeah.
But you have enough evidence by the obverse T to know.
Yes. In fact, the entire word liberty is just different on a 73. You'd have to trust me on that.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Why do you suppose somebody would do that damage at that location? Was it intentional on that location, or did they just randomly pick that location across the date to make a damage?
Your guess is good as mine.
Are they trying to say it's something that it isn't, or were they just screwing around?
I don't think necessarily that they're trying to say it's something that it isn't. I'm actually thinking that this is probably accidental, and it just happened to flatten the date out. I mean, because why? I mean, why else would you want to flatten the date out on a coin other than to show a picture of it to someone who knows Lincoln cents really well and can tell you what date the coin came from anyway?
Good point. You're not going to fool the experts on that one. And obviously it didn't, did it?
No, not this one. Craftsman Pliers, Ohio Relic Hunter says. Very strange, Craftsman Pliers. We're down to the brand now.
Well, that's my buddy Dave, and he probably knows tools pretty well.
Oh, I don't know tools nearly as well as I know coins, so I'll take your word for it.
You know, I got to take this opportunity to congratulate Ohio Relic Hunter, my buddy Bill. He won a Mine Lab Profine 40 last night on Josh's radio show, Beyond Sight and Sound.
Wow. Won a detector, huh?
Yeah, it's a brand new, completely brand new design. It's an entry-level machine. They make 3 levels. They make the Profine 20, 40, and 60. And Josh had a 40 to give away. There were 20 people. He took the first 20 phone calls. I was caller number 7. Bill was caller number 5, and he won by random.org.
Very nice. Yes, I did want to take this opportunity. The last book that I published was in 2004, 2005. I published the first edition in 2004. And in 2005, Xyrus Press wanted to do a re-release on it with it cleaned up a little bit, new images, and 50 more pages of information. And we republished the book. And I had a few people who wanted a copy of my book, so I called the publisher a couple of weeks ago and I ordered another case of books. And it's been a regular thing that I've done over the past few years is, just order another case of book when I need them. Well, I called him and I told him I wanted to order a case of the books, and he says, well, I'm not sure I have them. I said, what do you mean? You're the publisher. You're supposed to have books. He checked the warehouse and they only had 2 cases left. So I took one of the 2 cases and they kept the other one. So right now I'm down to my last about 10, 12 books. And that's all I'm ever going to have. There won't be any more of them. And I've got them right now. They're available on the homepage of coppercoins.com. Just look for the cover of the book. It's this guy right here.
Is there any way I can get a signed copy?
Of course you can get a signed copy. If you order them through me, I will sign and or personalize whatever you request in PayPal, your book. So, and when I do that, I chose a particular page to do that on. The first couple of pages of the books are ads. I had to get ads to help pay for the printing cost. But in this leaf page right here, there's a picture of a 1972 double die, and there's the title of the book. I will always sign it right down here.
Awesome.
So when you
Awesome.
open it up and it's not inside the front cover, don't fret. Just turn to this page here that has a 72 double die on it, and there's my signature.
Okay. I will get to that as soon as I can. I
Okay.
pretty much blew my budget for this month, but come June, you know, I've got a whole new budget to work out of.
I just wanted to let everyone know that they're highly limited. There's only a few available. And if you want it, now's the time to get it, because I may never be able to get them again.
How much are those?
They're $28 for standard shipping, which is media rate, and then they're $32, $4 more. If you want it priority, I'll get it out to you in a couple of days.
And that's coppercoins.com?
Coppercoins.com. From the homepage on the left-hand rail, you'll see a blue book title or a book cover. And just there's a link right below it that you can click to go order the book. And you can order it through PayPal, or if you don't have PayPal, you can contact me directly through email, and we'll arrange a way for you to pay for it. Looks like somebody finally showed up.
You see that penguin chick just says, "My treat, Drew."
Ah, awesome.
Well, how about? But she has my shipping information.
You need to send a link to somebody. Jack of all trades just showed up.
Yeah, he's got the link in his Facebook private message. It's there waiting for you. And I've been writing down this whole time. I've been writing down the people that are in the chat room.
Okay.
I am going up to my girlfriend's family farm on the 23rd, and on that day, I will be making a video about my metal detecting. All of these people are going to get a shout out in that video.
Awesome.
And now I have to add Digging Freedom to the list. How you doing, Frank?
Frank's here.
Carla, I'll send you that link after the show, okay?
What I would like to do with the next segment of the show, we've got about 20, 25, 30 minutes left, is open it up to any questions anybody has about coins. I'm not that good of a psychiatrist, psychologist, or mechanic, but I am pretty good with coins if you want to ask any questions. Preferably things that don't require your images, because I don't have a good way of being able to see them unless you can post a link to your image that I can go take a look at it. But if anybody has questions out there in Chatland, let us know.
Chatland, I like that.
I coined that phrase.
Okay, limited availability. Clicking on that link now.
Yep.
And I'm going to go ahead and send that to my friend Carla. Let's see here. I have her in my private messages somewhere. There she is.
It's almost like sending your kids off to college when your book goes out of print, you know? It's one of those things that you just always expected there'd be plenty of them available, and then suddenly the printer is out and they're not going to make any more, and that's it. I don't know that I ever expected that day to come, but it took 10 years to sell them out.
Has this been print? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That has been 10 years, hasn't it?
And it's been 10 years since he's. Now there isn't any information newer than 2004 in this book. So just be aware that there are things that have happened since 2004 that are not in this book. I do have a question. Swansea Searcher says, "How about finding a new penny that has no copper plating?" I know a little bit about those, and I'm going to be straight up and honest with you. I'm more of a die variety person, double dies, repunchment marks, stuff like that, than I am being able to look at planchet errors and tell you whether or not it's really a planchet error. But I can tell you that this was likely a coin that was minted after 1981. 1982 to date, well, not all of the 82s, but about half of the 1982s were minted out of zinc. And the zinc is plated in copper to keep them from rotting. And that plating sometimes didn't make it onto the blank before it was minted into a coin. Now, there's a little bit of a problem with that because there are certain ways that those who know chemicals better than I do can actually strip the copper plating off of a zinc penny and make it look like an error. The only thing that I can tell you that'll help out with this is to weigh the coin first. A zinc Lincoln cent, what are they, 2.5 grams or 2.7 grams?
2.5, I believe.
Okay, 2.5 should be the normal weight of a zinc Lincoln cent. If the copper is missing, the copper plating is missing off the coin, it would weigh 2.5 grams or just a little bit less. The reason I say that is because people also plate these things in all kinds of things, nickel, platinum, other metals. If that's done and the coin has been plated over, it'll first of all be shiny, really shiny, whereas zinc, if the plating is missing off the coin, the zinc will not be very bright and shiny. It'll be more like battleship gray, okay? But if it's really shiny and silver colored and it weighs more than 2.5 grams, you have a coin that was plated outside the mint. If you have a coin that is more or less battleship gray looking and has the original looking, how would I say that? If you look at it under a magnifying glass and all of the letters and numbers and everything look exactly like you think they should look on a brand new coin, yet it's a little bit dull and gray looking, then it's definitely going to be, or likely to be, an unplated planchet strike. They're worth a little bit of money. I don't really know how much because I don't deal in errors, but that would be what you look for.
We just had a troublemaker in the room. Don't worry, folks. I blocked him. We all know who it was.
And I missed the whole thing. I was blabbering. It says a couple of people say hello.
Yeah, I know who it was. He's gone. Let's see. I got to write down a couple more people who had joined the room here. Knuckle Mac 33. And Mr. Crabinet is in the room now as well.
Yeah. What happened to Jack of all trades?
He was going to go get something to eat, and he said he'd begin as soon as he can.
Oh,
but, okay. You know, he's only got a few minutes left before I end this chat. So he may have a post-chat of his own.
A post-chat chat?
Yep. Yeah, you know, I have limited time. You know, a lot of you guys know I'm still taking care of my mother, so I have to get up early and fix her food for the day, and then I have to get out of here, and then I go spend most of the day with her. I don't know what time I'll get there tomorrow because I'm going to be up a little later than normal this evening, but I'll be there. It looks like Detecting Arizona just joined the room. That's Seth.
Hey, Seth.
Seth and I just did an amazing trade recently. He sent me a giant baggie full of 2009 pennies, a few 1976 pennies, and a few 1966 pennies.
Well,
And I sent him a bunch of no-date buffaloes and 4 Indian head pennies.
that sounds like a fair trade considering what the two of you like.
Yeah, it worked out well for the both of us, that's for sure. You know, those 2009 pennies have just been impossible for me to find. I mean, I go through boxes of pennies on a regular basis. You know, I don't make videos of everything that I go through, but frequently when I do my penny roll hunts, I will make videos. And, you know, I might go 2 boxes and I won't see a single 2009. And I see other guys pulling them left and right.
Yeah. Oh, looks like Rick is getting ready to leave.
Oh, Rick's out of here. Good night, Rick. Thank you.
Knuckle Mac is in. King Coin asks what I collect as far as coins are concerned other than cents. They make other coins? I didn't know that. I guess I may have had a few state quarters here and there, but I think I spent them.
All right, let's see here. I guess I am current on all the people that are in the room here. And like I said a minute ago, all you people are going to be getting a shout out in my next metal detecting video on the 23rd. That'll probably get posted the 24th or 25th. Depends on when we come back. Hey, check it out. NC Digger just joined the room. How you doing, Tom?
NC Digger.
Got to send a big shout out to my big brother, Tom. All right, let's see here. Whoop, wrong click there. If anybody's planning on doing an after chat tonight, there are a few people who want to join. I'm going to be ending this tonight at 10 o'clock because, as I said a little while ago, I have got to get to bed. Swansea Searcher says he has a giveaway he's going to do. How about we save that one until the next one, okay, Brandon? And we'll bring you into the room live with everybody, and then you can do your giveaway then. I'll probably be doing that next chat next Thursday night, same time, 8 to 10. Looks like everybody's saying hello to Tom, seeing how he's doing. All right. So I guess a question I have for you, Chuck,
Okay.
aside from the pennies that we've been discussing this evening,
Okay.
you have been designing some coins recently.
Yes.
And I know you're not at liberty to really go into much about that, but you said you're going to be releasing these coins, if that's the correct term, at the Chicago show. Is that correct?
Yes. There's going to be 2 new releases coming out at the Chicago ANA in August, and I will be at that show. So if anyone lives in the Chicago area or happens to be going to the ANA show in Chicago, I'll be there. Don't know exactly where we'll be, but if you go in, look for MCM, Modern Coin Mart's table. And I should be there. I'm thinking on Friday and Saturday are the days that I would normally go to that show.
And you're going to be releasing how many coins? 2?
2 different coins. You are not going to want to miss seeing one of them. I mean, the other one is, it's all fine. You know, everything's great. I'm not trying to disparage my own work, but there's one of them that I'm extremely excited about. And I can't really talk about what they are right now.
Well, I tell you what, I am really looking forward to seeing what those are myself.
I think probably within 2 to 3 weeks we're going to start advertising them. So they'll be out there so that we can talk about them next or whenever I can get back onto the show here. We can actually talk about them. I can talk about the designs of those, but for right now, I've got to stay hush about it because it's an unreleased product.
Completely understandable. And you know that you always have an open invitation on my show, okay? Anytime you have something that you think is important enough, just send me a private message and we'll set up a show.
Okay, great. I appreciate it.
Just like tonight's show. You know, when we talked about this the other day, I couldn't think of a better topic, to tell you the truth. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of guys on the group posting pictures going, look, a double die. And Chuck's like, I'm sorry to break it to you, that's not a double die. And I think, you know, it's
if
really,
I had a nickel for every time, if I had a nickel, I'd be rich.
We'd all be rich, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Well, you know, after you get those coins released, when you're at liberty to discuss, come back on the show and we'll do a little segment on them.
Okay. All right. Yeah, sounds great. I'd love to do that. I've actually held the one that excites me so much. I've actually held one of them. They minted the coin and sent it to me for design approval, and it's as nice as I had thought it would be in my mind's eye when I started working on the design. Mm-hmm. So it'll be super nice when it is actually out there. I can tell you it'll have a certificate of authenticity with it, which I designed. Every one of them will be numbered. Other thing I can tell you is it'll come in a very nice polished wood box. Other thing I can tell you is that it's going to have an outer box that the lid actually lifts off the box. So you've got an outer box, then you've got a box on the inside, and then on the inside box there's a piece of wood that stands up with magnets. It's really, really nice. It's real super packaging we're putting together with this thing.
Yeah, you know, I can definitely speak to Chuck's passion because, you know, he and I spoke more than once over the last couple months about, you know, the coins he's been designing. I haven't seen him, but, you know, I can definitely speak to his passion for what he's been working on lately.
Yeah, and I've got 2 designs I'm working on right now, and then recently went to a class on sculpting, and so I'm actually working rather than just in the 2D drawing designs of the coins that I'm working with. I've actually begun the process of sculpting on actual blanks. They're 8 inches round, and working with clay and pouring plaster back and forth, the positive and negative, to make the design turn into what I want it to be. And I'm really excited about that because I think eventually I'm going to be able to create the design beginning to end. And I don't know of very many people who do that. I mean, there are a few, but I don't know of very many who can conceive of something, draw it up, have a drawing that they can show a client. The client likes the drawing, then they go back and they sit down and start sculpting it and put a sculpt together and send it in to be reduced into a die that can actually mint coins.
A couple people are asking what the mintage numbers are going to be on these 2 coins that are going to be released in Chicago.
One of them, I think, is 1,000 or 1,500. And the other one, I cannot say the mintage on it because it has to do with the subject of the coin.
Oh, yeah. Little clue there.
If I gave you the mintage, then it would automatically snap into an idea that might actually draw people to what the subject of the coin is. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you that both of them are less than 2,500 mintage, and that's pretty much all I can say for right now. Are
you allowed to say the composition of the coins?
Silver. I can't give you the weight, but I can give you the composition. They'll be silver coins.
Very good. Very good. Well, that's probably enough prying on that subject.
Yep.
How about showing us that fantastic artwork of yours. You have that picture you showed me earlier?
Oh, of dipshit here?
No, the other one.
Oh, the other one. Okay. Yeah, I just recently finished my the latest drawing on my designer series, and this
Absolutely incredible.
Anthony DeFrancisci is the artist who designed the peace dollar, and I drew this rendition of him. If you go to Daughtrey.com, I will spell my name out for you in the chat here. So you put a .com after that, Daughtrey.com, and you'll be able to see the entire series. This is the 9th drawing in a series of drawings of the people who designed our coins. And that's basically what is portraits of the artists who designed our coins. And the other drawing that I just finished or just had printed is this right here. These are art prints, but this is the bird that's sitting above my shoulder right now. This is from a photograph that my wife took, and I drew the bird from the photograph. And I think it looks a little bit like him. Where is he? Here.
He looks good. Yeah, it does look a lot like him.
Oh. There. There's the bird with his picture. Oh, he's popping. He likes it.
I was about to say, you think he recognizes himself?
I don't know. I don't even know what birds can see. To him, it may be just a flat piece of paper. You gonna laugh? You hear him?
Yeah.
You gonna laugh? You gonna laugh? You gonna laugh for us? Nope. Didn't want to do it now.
So how long have you had him?
He's 4 years old. We've had him since he was 8 weeks old. So he was barely weaned when we got him. And my wife got him. She was the bird person. She wanted to get a bird. She really, really wanted a bird. And then when she got the bird, it took him all of about 6 months to...
Whoa. Hey, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt you here.
Yeah.
We have somebody special in the room all of a sudden.
Somebody special?
Yeah, somebody special just showed up. Pink Cotton Candy 0064.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that would be Yvonne.
Ah, it's Yvonne.
Yes. Hi, Yvonne. How are you doing?
Wait a minute. Where can I see pictures of the coins you guys were talking about? Imagine she's probably talking about the ones that have already been released or the ones that I'm going to be releasing.
I think she's probably talking about the ones from earlier in the chat. There's a link below the title of the chat. If you look down where it says the date, if you scroll down, it'll say visual aids for tonight's show, and there's a link, coppercoins.com Supra.
Wow. I typed out copper coins space DOT space COM and then the word slash and Supra, and it recognized it as a web address.
In the chat?
Yeah, in the chat.
Whoa.
They're getting smart.
Wow. How about that? Pink Cotton Candy showed up to the party. That's impressive.
Swansea Searcher says, asks if I take drawing requests. Unfortunately, I don't. I have too many things going on in my life, and I'm just too busy to. I've got 6 more drawings to do before I'm even done with the series I'm working on now, and these things take me a month apiece to do. And right now, I just don't have any way of being able to take any kind of contract work to do drawings. I hate saying that because, I mean, I know it's because people like the work that I do and they want me to share it with them, but I just can't do it right now.
Yeah. Well, I know what it's like to be so busy you can't do much.
Right.
Yeah, I think at one point I was down about right around 300 video notifications in my Gmail because I just didn't have time for my YouTube. I think I went more than a week and a half without any postings or anything.
Right.
And last night I finally made it down below 100, which is still a pretty big number for me.
Yeah.
But, you know, I promised my people that I would, you know, do my best.
So what's up with Jack of all trades? He can't join us?
He can't, he cannot create a chat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he is grounded by YouTube for some shenanigans that happened on one of his chats recently. I'm hoping it's just temporary.
Yeah.
And well, by the way, I will say this: it wasn't anything that he did. It was something that someone in his chat did that was beyond his control, and it's just unfortunate.
Let's see. I just saw someone else ask. Oh, Seth, Detecting Arizona asked how much my prints are going to be. The prints on the Anthony DeFrancisci drawing are $69, including shipping. So they're different prices for different ones based on basically based on the demand that I got for them. Some of the ones that I did sold out pretty quickly. I print 250 of every one of them that I do. And I sign and number the entire series of 250. And then after they're signed and numbered, I have a number of people who ask for specific numbered prints. And that's what helps me determine what the price for that particular print will be. I also base it on the popularity of the coin series and the popularity of the designer himself. The next one that I'm working on is actually going to be Charles Barber. Charles Barber designed the Barber series of coins, Barber dime, the Barber quarter, the Barber half dollar. He also did some other designs. He did the Stella $4 gold. He did a number of the different designs from that era, from that period, because right after the Civil War, because he was the chief engraver at the time. I think he was the 5th chief engraver of the mint. And interesting thing about him is that there are very few images of him, and the images that are out there are very low quality. So what I intend to do is bring him out to life in a large drawing. And it'll be the first time anyone alive today has actually seen a very nicely detailed large drawing of Charles Barber, because all we have are a couple of crappy photographs.
And you're gonna have prints of that one for sale?
There will be 250 prints of those made as well.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
And then after that, I'll be doing Frank Gasparo. And he's the one who did the reverse side of the half dollar, the Kennedy half dollar, and he did the memorial reverse on the Lincoln cent, and he did both sides of the Susan B. Anthony dollar.
Oh, the Carter quarter.
Yeah, the Carter quarter. And then after Frank Gasparo, I'll be doing a designer a lot of people don't really know much about. His name was Bela Lyon Pratt. And Bela Lyon Pratt was a man. It's not Bella, B-E-L-L-A. It's Bela, B-E-L-A, like Bela Lugosi, the
I was about to say Bela Lugosi.
And Bela Lyon Pratt is actually a very unique designer of United States coins, because he designed the Incuse gold Indian coins that came out in 1908, the 2.5 and the $5 Indian coins. And what is so amazing about these coins is that they're incuse design. So basically, the field, the negative space of the coin, is actually raised up higher than the design itself. And those were the only coins that were made like that. And it wasn't necessarily his idea, but the fact that he executed those designs in such a way that those coins are so popular to get today makes him, in my mind, someone to be honored. And so he's going to be what might be the last drawing in the series. Realize I've already done 9 of them now. And so now we're getting up to 12, 13. I don't know exactly where I want to cut this off, but I mean, there's a number of other people that I would like to do. John Sinnock is another one that I would love to do. He designed the Roosevelt dime, both sides. And the thing about him is I actually held and photographed his passport.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I've got a photograph of the actual photograph that was inside his passport, which is an unpublished photograph. And to be able to draw his unpublished image is just something that's so appealing to me.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the man that designed the reverse of the bicentennial dollar?
Jack R.
From Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah. Did I get that name right?
I think that's how it's pronounced.
A-H-R.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue how I know that.
Yeah, the only thing, that's just one little piece of trivia that's stuck in the back of my head, that he was from Columbus, Ohio.
Then a guy named Seth designed, Seth Huntington, I think his name was. I think he designed the bicentennial half dollar. Or maybe the bicentennial quarter. Oh, but
sure.
If anybody out there in Chatland knows, they could let us know.
Well, we're getting ready to end it for tonight, folks. I'd like to thank everybody for joining in the fun. And we'll be doing this again next Thursday at 8 o'clock, barring any difficulties, okay? Chuck,
yes,
as
sir.
always, thank you so very much for being my guest and just educating me so much on how to spot the difference between the double dies and the machine doubling.
Well,
there's some...
And I thank you for allowing me to have a platform to babble on for 2 hours. And that's not B-A-B-Y-L-O-N. That's babble on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really passionate about this subject, and I think it's something that anyone who wants to learn it can. It's just a matter of having to have the exposure. That I never had that opportunity when I was a kid. It took me years to figure this out, and I didn't have a whole lot of help because back then we didn't have the internet, we didn't have chat, we didn't have anything but books and snail mail, and now we have all these powerful tools that we can use to help teach each other. And I just think it's really important to use them, utilize them, and get people involved in what I think is such a very interesting hobby.
Well, I guess, I have to thank my grandmother for getting me interested in this hobby. When I was a little kid, I'd go spend a couple weeks in the summer with her. And she used to point out different things about the different coins. And, that's how I got started.
Just by your grandma pointing things out on coins to you?
Yeah, she's like, what do you know what E pluribus unum means? No. Well, she would tell me. And it would, interest me. And, she would always pull out her change and lay it on the counter. And we would look at what she had in there. And if she found something she needed for one of her books, she would keep it. And I still have her books sitting back here.
Wow.
If I could get it out without knocking everything down, I still have her penny books.
Ooh, a Waite Raymond.
Yeah.
Just a Waite Raymond Library of Coins book, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I still have all of her penny books right here behind me. Those are probably one of my most prized possessions. All right, folks, with that, we're going to go ahead and end it for this evening. Thank you all very much for joining. Stand by, Chuck. All right, folks, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.